Hello hobby farmers, I'm Bevan Cohen, and today I'm going to show you how to save the seeds from your garden tomatoes. Now there's a lot of different reasons that we may want to save seeds from our tomatoes, and I suppose the first is economics, right? When I save the seeds from this year's crop, I can plant them again next year and I don't have to buy seeds again. But not only am I saving money, but I'm also saving these varieties. Have you ever heard of heirlooms? Now an heirloom tomato is a tomato whose seeds have been saved and passed down for 50 years or more, right? Now, these are historic varieties, most certainly, but they're also incredibly delicious. Every time we save and share our seeds, we're doing our part to preserve these heirlooms. But seeds don't necessarily have to be heirloom for us to save them. What we're looking for is open pollinated. That's key. And the simplest explanation of an open pollinated variety is those that are plants that are left to pollinate openly with the plants around them will produce seeds true to the maternal form. In the simple speak, what that means is I save the seeds from this tomato, I plant them again next year, and I can predict I'm going to get the same kind of tomato. Now that's a little bit different than the hybrids. And some of our modern farm crops are hybridized, and there's a lot of pluses for that, certainly. But when it comes to saving seeds, that can get a little bit tricky, because when we save the seeds from our hybrids and we plant them again the next year, we can't quite predict what they're going to grow. So when you're new to saving seeds, you're going to want to stick with your open pollinated varieties. And today we're going to stick with some open pollinated heirloom tomatoes. When we get ready to save our seeds, there's very little equipment that we're actually going to need to do the job. First thing, of course, is our tomato. Now the key here is that we want to make sure our tomatoes are ripe. When the fruits are ripe, the seeds are ready to harvest. And the tomato is going to signal its ripeness by changing colors, right? It'll go from the green on the plant and it'll slowly turn to red, or yellow, or orange, or stripy, depending on the tomato variety that you have. But changing color is how the plant signals to us that the seeds are ready to harvest. We're also going to need a cutting board and a knife, maybe a little bit of a scoop, a jar, some sort of container. You can just reuse a jar from something out of the kitchen. A Sharpie marker, a little bit of strainer, some water, and maybe a little film wrap. Basic stuff, right? So let's go ahead and save some of these tomato seeds. Once we have gotten our ripe tomatoes, what we're going to want to do is cut them along the center. I always say it's like the equator. Not the stem end and not the blossom end, but right here at the equator, giving us access to all of the chambers inside. It's going to be the easiest way to extract all of the seeds. And see there, all the seeds ready to go. Now we're going to get ourselves a container, right? We're just going to reuse this jar from the kitchen. And we're just going to go ahead and squeeze all the juice and everything out from the tomato into this jar. What we're doing here is we're fermenting these seeds. Why is it that we want to do this? That jelly coating that's around each one of the little tomato seeds has growth inhibitor chemicals inside of it, specifically designed to stop these seeds from sprouting. It's Mother Nature's way of keeping these seeds from sprouting prematurely when they're still in the tomato, ripe tomato out in the field, right? So we have to break down that coating, get it off of the seeds, and that's going to give us much better germination rates next spring. So we're going to squeeze all the insides from our tomato out into this jar. You can use a scoop if you'd like to help get in there. It's a little less messy. If you're working with smaller tomatoes, you can just squeeze them out by hand. And then what's left over here, that's good tomato. We could save this. I can eat it. I can put it in some sauce, make some salsa, whatever we want to do, but don't waste it because that's some good stuff right there. Then once we've got all the juice squeezed out from our tomatoes into our jar, we're going to add a little bit of tap water to it. Just a little bit, just to increase our ratio of liquid to solid here. And then we're going to cover it. You can cover it with anything that you have handy. Cheesecloth is going to work great. If you've got a film wrap like this, you could certainly use it. That's what we're going to use today. But if you're using a film wrap like this, you're going to want to poke some holes in it. As this ferments, it's going to release gas, and the gas needs to be able to escape. I use a toothpick. Does the job just fine. And then we're going to want to label it. Labeling is essential to success in seed saving every step of the way, right? So I'm going to label the top of this jar right here with the name of the tomato variety. And I'm going to set this up in the windowsill in a warm, sunny area for about 3 to 4 days. Now, that's going to vary a little bit depending on the sugar content of the tomato variety, the heat and humidity of the environment, but on average we're going to say about 3 to 4 days. And in about 3 to 4 days time, you're going to see at the top of the water here, there's going to be a white scum that's going to start to build up, a mold essentially. And when we see that mold growing, then we know the fermentation has happened exactly as we need it. So then we're going to take our jar down, uncover it, add a little bit more water to it, give it a good agitation, swirl it around a little bit, and you'll be able to see as it separates right out. And to the top of the jar goes all the little bits of mold, immature seeds, those growth inhibitor chemicals, any diseases that would have been in there. All the undesirable stuff is going to float to the top of the water. And to the bottom of the jar is going to settle nothing but good, viable, healthy tomato seed. So we're going to decant off the stuff that we don't want, pour the tomato seeds into a screen. Something like this right here is going to work great. We're going to rinse it off really, really nice, get any little bits of tomato debris that may have came along with it, and then we're going to put it out on something to dry. Now today I'm going to use a paper plate. I love to use paper plates to dry my tomato seeds because the tomato seeds really don't stick that bad. I can kind of bust them loose with my fingers. It's very, very easy. But best of all, I can label the paper plate. I can write the name of the variety right there. Remember, proper labeling is key to success. I can label this paper plate. When I'm done with it, I can scribble that out, write something else, and reuse these paper plates for years to come. Once your seeds are nice and dry, we're going to say about 7 to 10 days. And you're going to want to make sure that they're good and dry. Just because they're dry to the eye or dry to the touch doesn't mean that they're dry all the way through. So when you think that your seeds are dry, give them like 2 more days. All right? Let them finish drying. And then we're going to package them up. Now, if you're just saving your seeds until next year, you could put them in a little coin envelope, a little tiny Ziploc bag, into a jar, maybe with a silica packet, to help wick the moisture away. But most important thing is you want to keep your seeds cool, dark, and dry. So put your seeds into an envelope like that, again, well labeled, and put it away in a cool, dark place, in a cupboard or a closet or somewhere like that, and they'll sit there waiting for you until next year when it's time to plant your tomatoes again. Harvesting and saving your tomato seeds is an easy way to preserve this year's harvest to enjoy for generations to come. All right, happy growing, folks. See you next time.